Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
I'm Ann Emanuel. Thank you for joining us. Police in Ithaca are investigating a car crash that led to the death of an Ithaca college student. Shay Colbert was identified and declared dead at the scene of the crash. The crash happened sometime before 8 a.m. Saturday morning. Police report that Colbert's car was found in the woods off of Coddington Road and had struck multiple trees in the area. A vigil will be held tomorrow at 5 p.m. at Muller Chapel for Colbert's friends and family. Police are still investigating the cause of the crash. Elmira emergency personnel responded to a bicyclist hit by a car Sunday afternoon. The accident happened at the intersection of North Main Street and West Water Street in downtown Elmira. The cyclist was taken to the hospital for her injuries. No further information was given by police about the car and driver involved. Park Church in Elmira has been vandalized 3 times in the last few months. The vandalism includes the tearing down of an LGBTQ banner. Park Church is part of a program that supports and welcomes members of the LGBTQ community. Pastor Gary Bryn has brought the vandalism to the Elmira Police Department, and the incident is being investigated as a hate crime. Over $20 million lost in scams targeting senior citizens last year. Doesn't that just make your blood boil? It does mine. Big Fox's Josh Feldberg has more on how you can avoid falling victim to these scams.
Scams are becoming more and more advanced in the modern age. Grandparent scams are scams that are designed with the idea of tricking elderly people into giving away money. In 2021, the Federal Trade Commission filed over 12,000 complaints from people over the age of 60 that were scammed into giving away money. The New York State Division of Consumer Protection, or DCP, recently released a set of guidelines to help identify and avoid these grandparent scams. The DCP listed 3 common elements of a grandparent scam. The first element is the impersonation of a family member. This is when the scammer poses as a relative in trouble and needs financial assistance. This could be seen by the scammer posing as a cop, lawyer, or doctor. Another element is the urgent and immediate need for money. Most scams create a sense of urgency, and the scammers will require you to send money over the phone or mail money to an address. The final element listed by the DCP is the insistence of secrecy. The scammers will insist that other family members shouldn't be contacted about the problem. Scammers may say the relative will be embarrassed if you tell others, or that there is not enough time. The DCP does offer some ways you can avoid falling victim to a scam. This includes resisting the urge to act immediately, contacting the relative involved directly, and not giving your address or money over the phone. Checking your social media privacy settings is a good way to limit the amount of information scammers can see. To learn more on how to protect yourself and others, you can visit the Division of Consumer Protection's website. Josh Feldberg, Big Fox News, Corning.
21 years after the attacks of September 11th, the Tribute in Light once again shines as part of the Lower Manhattan skyline on Sunday. The lights are an art installation that were first displayed 6 months after the attacks. Since then, they've been displayed every year on September 11th from dusk to dawn. Also marking the anniversary, Governor Kathy Hochul signed new 9/11 bills into law. The laws are designed to support 9/11 survivors and 9/11 victims' families. One of the bills will also name part of a state highway in honor of a first responder. This year's midterm elections and control of Congress may come down to the wire. Against the odds, President Biden and his fellow Democrats are seeking to hold their majority in the House and even maybe pick up a few Senate seats. Here's Alexandria Hoff.
With just 8 weeks to go until the midterm elections, candidates are barnstorming the campaign trail trying to reach every possible voter.
Enough is enough. It's really time to get this country back on the right track.
Final primary races are being held Tuesday in New Hampshire, Delaware, and Rhode Island. Historically, the party in power loses seats, but Democrats are hoping this year will be different, with the recent Supreme Court ruling on abortion energizing female voters.
Women are the reason we can win.
President Biden is doing his part to highlight some recent victories in Congress, including the bipartisan infrastructure law and the Inflation Reduction Act.
We're going to be spending a lot of money. We're going to get it done quickly.
Some Democrats have been hesitant to share the spotlight with the president, in part due to his low approval ratings.
President Biden is woefully underwater with the all-important independents who are looking at the issues right in front of them, namely the grocery store.
Even though price spikes are easing, a majority of Americans in a recent Gallup poll said inflation is still causing financial hardship. Republicans believe that will move undecided voters to their side come November.
Well, this is going to be a competitive race. No one gives you the majority. You have to earn it.
We'll get a better idea as to whether inflation peaked last month when we get the Consumer Price Index due out Tuesday. In Washington, Alexandria Hoff, Fox News.
Fall officially starts next week, and with it, a whole new fruit season. Big Fox's Maggie Hall was in Watkins Glen today reporting on this fall activity, apple picking.
It is apple picking season in the Finger Lakes, and the folks up here in Watkins Glen at Apples and More have all the apples you need. And more.
So my family grew up right next door to the farm, right from its initiation. I actually picture me when I was about 5 years old, out here helping them plant the original trees.
Alec has worked in these orchards basically his whole life, and then 3 years ago, he bought the farm himself.
There's always something great about growing fruit too, and just, taking it from start to finish and getting to harvest it, and then really the joy people get out of coming here too every year.
Speaking of fruit, how is growing this year's crop of apples?
It was a little dry throughout the years. We seem to have timely rain at some of the critical points in the apples development, so that was really helpful. And then we were able to add supplemental irrigation ourselves, so we were able to, anytime we were lacking water, we were able to add water ourselves to bring a really nice crop along. It's one of the biggest ones I've had in the last 3 years I've owned it.
The more that I mentioned earlier are these beautiful homegrown zinnias that you can pick yourself. Along with these fresh flowers, the farm has you pick raspberries. And that's not all.
Provide, pre-harvested pumpkins, mums, then the 22 varieties of apples we have. In our store, throughout the year, depending on availability, we'll have pears, plums, then we got all the jams, jellies, donuts, cider inside. So we got a lot of different things going on here.
Alec wanted me to let our viewers know to stay tuned this week for a Honey Crisp apple announcement. So where can you find Apples and More?
So people can find us on applesandmore.com, our Facebook or our Instagram.
And one last apple picking advice from Alec. Always check their website before visiting to make sure the apples you want are in their harvesting season. Maggie Hall, Big Fox News, Watkins Glen.
Your complete work week forecast is next. Plus, 2 men get dangerously close to wildfire flames after getting trapped on a mountain in Washington state. That story and more coming up.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
It was a beautiful start to the weekend as we returned to some sunshine and seasonable temperatures Friday and Saturday, but we did turn gloomy and brought in just around 3/10 of an inch for our Sunday forecast. Now, as we continue to see some rainy weather move through even throughout the day today, there will continue to be some of those lingering effects. So note through the overnight, we're still going to keep under some of those isolated showers and thunderstorms, so still that rumble of thunder maybe greeting your morning commute, but it looking to be fairly calm as we're going to get on the backside of this system with temperatures falling back into those lower 60s, and then we'll continue to see some cooling over the next few days. So what we'll be setting up for the areas will drop down to about 58 into Corning, 60 into Elmira, to 55 into Wayland, which is actually above average. As our average low this time of the year is about 51, and that's just due to the cloud cover that's sticking around. When we have that cloud cover overnight, we're not allowed to release any of the heating that we have at the surface, so it's looking a little bit warmer, but we are timing out cooler conditions. So lingering showers will stick around into our Tuesday forecast, expecting that we're not seeing seen that excessive rainfall potential, but still going to see those scattered showers and maybe even a few rumbles of thunder still. Now, we should start to turn those skies brighter as we step into our Wednesday forecast, but it is going to be cooler as we're on the backside of that low pressure system and ahead of a high pressure system. We're going to get a strong northerly flow that's going to keep temperatures slightly below average into those lower 70s. But we should see some gradual warming as the rest of the week will proceed, but we will see that the warmest temperature could arrive by Sunday, but that's when we could have the potential for some rainfall back into the forecast. Now, trending into what's expected throughout the day on Tuesday is that there could be some, again, those stronger thunderstorms across New York, but it's going to be eastern portions of New York. So it looks like Elmira and Corning, as well as much of the Finger Lakes up through Rochester, just looking at a general risk that a few rumbles of thunder could be noted, especially in the early morning hours, as that's where our chance for some showers will be here, as that trend here is all going to be pushing off to the northeast, as we'll see maybe a stray shower or two there on that backside of that low. It's a really amplified low pressure system holding good pockets of moisture here and there, but there is some drier air that's going to be working in, and we'll be greeted by that as we head into that Wednesday and Thursday forecast. So as we see the system move on through, it's going to keep those temperatures into those 70s and 60s again across the area. 74 in Elmira, so just a few degrees below that average as we still get a little bit of that southerly flow. But then as we get on the backside of that system, what we'll see is that brighter skies will be around. We'll see just around that average trend there, about 77 to 78 into Corning, but that extended forecast, that's where you're going to see that change up here as we'll see only 70 on Thursday under dominance of that high pressure system. So then we'll get to 72 by Friday, so still slightly below average, but you have that bright sunshine still around. The weekend forecast is where we are going to watch those temperatures gradually warm back up towards average. We'll keep some early sunshine and may even see sunshine extend into that Sunday forecast as we'll hit the 80s, but then we'll be tracking some of that rainy weather to move its way back in for the early portions of next work week.
The Affordable Care Act may become a little less affordable, and Burger King says it will invest in $400 million in advertising, restaurant remodeling, and technology upgrades. Lillian Wu has more in today's Business Briefs.
The Affordable Care Act may become a little less affordable. Insurers on ACA marketplaces are proposing median monthly premium increases of 10%. That's according to a Kaiser Family Foundation review of proposals made by 72 insurers in 13 states. According to the review, some insurers are asking for increases of as much as 20%. Many consumers won't actually pay more because of enhanced federal subsidies through the Inflation Reduction Act, which Congress passed and President Biden signed last month. Burger King says it'll invest $400 million in advertising, restaurant remodeling, and technology upgrades. The plan is called Reclaim the Flame. It includes investing in premium branding for the flame-grilled Whopper and the expansion of its chicken portfolio with the creation of the Royal Chicken Sandwich. The plan also includes the remodeling of 800 restaurants and upgrading restaurant technology and kitchen equipment. And Milkshake Monday is back. For the second year, IHOP is celebrating the big day. The observation coincides with the wider National Chocolate Milkshake Day. Dine-in customers at participating IHOP restaurants can buy one, get one free on any flavor milkshake from 12 to 8 p.m. on Monday.
2 hikers narrowly escaped Washington's Bold Creek fire after becoming trapped on a mountain. Jennifer Dowling has more on their escape.
I see the flames.
When Steve Cooper and Matt Bishop summited Mount Bering, they were met with an explosive sight.
We could see the fire coming from the other ridge. You know, it's 3 or 4 miles away, I suppose. And we're like, well, we need to get out of here.
The men set out on their adventure at around 6 a.m. The skies were mostly clear, and they were completely unaware a fire had sparked about an hour prior, and an inferno was growing in the forest.
That was the way we came.
After a nearly 6-hour trek up, they finally had an eagle-eye view of the massive wildfire now barreling their way.
It was definitely one of those moments where you kind of just were like, all right, this is it. We're probably not going to make this.
They turned around immediately, but in the V-Notch climbing area, they realized the fire had cut off the trail back.
Oh, that came fast, dude.
All of a sudden, the trail in front of us is in smoke and just erupts into flames.
The men checked their GPS, looking for alternate ways off the mountain as the fire raged.
It roared like a jet engine. That was our route down the mountain in front of us, and it was engulfed in flames. So it was terrifying.
When that fire was coming up that ridge, it was hot, extremely hot.
The two followed a dry drainage fire chasing alongside.
We are trapped here. We've got fire on either side. Hopefully you guys get to see this video because otherwise we didn't make it.
Conditions were too dangerous for a rescue.
We just got off the phone with 911 in search and rescue, and they cannot rescue us. We're going to try to get out of here before we burn to death.
The route to safety was slippery with ash and debris.
It's pretty steep.
At one point, Matt lost his footing and nearly slid off a cliff with a 200-foot drop before grabbing a tree.
If he would have dropped, I'm pretty sure he would have died.
After hours of stressful scrambling, the men finally picked up a trail near Barclay Lake where they could hike to their Jeep. Steve chronicling their escape on The Path Least Taken, his YouTube channel.
We had determination. We wanted to stay alive and make it back home to our family.
It was a traumatic experience. I hope no one else has to go through what we went through.
The two want to warn other hikers not to make the same mistakes. They say don't go into the mountains on red flag days, and if there is smoke in the air, even a light amount, forgo the hike.
We got lucky a lot of times on the way out.
Still ahead, a growing number of credit card companies are implementing a new strategy in hopes of preventing gun violence. That story and more coming up. Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights is an annual tradition which this year is even bigger with more fun, scares, and star power. Horror icons joined opening night at Universal Studios Hollywood as the season gets started, and Ashley Vorkin was there with them, even going in to bring us a preview of those monster-filled mazes.
The season is here for tricks, treats, frights, and Halloween Horror Nights. Universal Studios Hollywood Halloween Horror Nights is calling on all horror fans as they dial up the scares. Horror stars at the opening night red carpet party shared how they do partaking in the frightening fun.
I'm a tiny baby when it comes to this. I'm going to be screaming. The last time I came was last year when they had the Hill House maze, and it took me 3 days to recover.
I love the idea that they put together a story that scares you, and it's live. It's alive.
I've always been a fan of haunted houses, of horror experiences.
Turn your camera.
That's the fans.
That's what I like about all of this.
Horror icon Jamie Lee Curtis is also excited to share Halloween ends with those fans soon.
They love Laurie Strode, and I'm Laurie Strode. So what I get is this beautiful, reflective feeling of love and support.
So for an ode to Strode, I started my visit in Haddonfield for you. We did run into her co-star a few times. Here we go. Being very dedicated to bring you this preview, I led the way at Universal Monsters Legends Collide. You're welcome. I did it! The event has more haunted houses than ever before. Among the many experiences are the horrors of Blumhouse, the Terror Tram with inspiration from Jordan Peele's Us and Nope, and the musical twists and turns of the Weekend After Hours Nightmare. Cinematic scares, monster mazes, it all awaits at Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights, running through October 31st.
A growing number of credit card companies are implementing a new strategy in hopes of preventing gun violence. Visa announcing over the weekend it will start categorizing purchases made at gun shops, joining companies like MasterCard and American Express, which previously made similar commitments. Officials at Visa say the company will now use an international standardized merchant code for sales at gun shops. Previous purchases have been labeled as general merchandise. A majority of Americans are experiencing financial hardship because of higher prices. That's according to a Gallup survey. 56% of respondents say higher prices are causing them financial hardship, and that's up from 49% in January. People are responding by buying less, buying only essential items, traveling less, or canceling vacations altogether. They're also purchasing less expensive items or generic brands, eating out less, and even growing their own food. The Food and Drug Administration warning patients and doctors about unusual cancers found in some people with breast implants. The agency announcement coming Thursday after an in-depth routine review of several medical reports citing the discoveries of a rare lymphomas and squamous cell carcinoma in the scar tissue that surrounds the implants. According to the FDA, there are roughly 50 reported cases of these types of cancers in people with both saline or silicone implants. Officials Officials say these rare cases are not the same as previous reports of lymphomas linked to breast implants. Some of the symptoms include changes in skin appearance, swelling, and pain. Stay with us. We'll have more after the break. And here is a smile that we want to leave you with tonight. Students in India create artwork as a stirring tribute to Queen Elizabeth II. The young artist in the financial capital of Mumbai crafting colorful portraits of the beloved queen who passed away Thursday at the age of 96. The queen spent more than 7 decades on the throne. Her son Charles now becoming king, the first king of England since the death of George VI in 1952. I'm Harriet Wallace. Thank you all so much for watching.